Do you think young people have that attitude? Yeah, it's going to take hard work and delayed gratification.
I think it's very tough, especially in this country. Everything with food, everything with entertainment, everything with even education is immediate.
Welcome to the Future of Education podcast, hosted by Mackenzie Price. Mackenzie is the founder of a revolutionary new school model that's disrupting education through AI. Join us as we discuss the latest in education innovation.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Future of Education. I have a really cool guest today. I mean, what would you expect? I'm pretty cool myself for being like a 48-year-old awesome mom. So Zach Justice is here with me. And
Allegedly.
if you don't know Zach, which maybe some of my audience doesn't because you are basically the cool kind of Gen Z podcast comedian, and you have a really interesting perspective on education. So I want to dive in on that. Thanks for joining me.
Easy enough. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. First time in Texas. Excited to see that one star. I don't know where it is, but I know it's out here somewhere.
Oh, you'll see it. I think
good.
It's me, right? Is that it?
I've heard rumors, but you know.
Well, so I think we are kind of an odd pair because, you know, I am this mom. I've got two girls that I started a school 10 years ago because I thought education was broken. And I think there's nothing like a mama bear who's kind of in for something. And I think you actually have experience with a pretty strong mama bear in your life, right?
I do have a mother raised by a single mother. She was in education my entire life. I think she's almost 35 years teaching and counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she was a little strict growing up. If I got to be on anything, she would take my life away. But no, it worked out. It worked out.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So she cared about academics. She's obviously a hero if she's been in the education field for that long. I think teachers are absolutely amazing. Do you think that role of the teacher, like, tell me what you think about that role?
I mean, it's a lot of responsibility to put on to people that you don't pay very well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just the grandeur of this nation. But yeah, I think it takes a lot to be inspired and want the best for the kids, even if it's in the community. I think a lot of people want to change the world. But if you start in the community and it bleeds out, that's a good way to make your mark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. Teachers they're underpaid, they're overworked. They have a very hard job. So I love hearing that. Well, tell the audience a little bit about what you do now for those who have not heard of Zach Justice. And then after that, I kind of want to know like what brought you to that place from a school perspective.
So I am the host of something called the Dropouts Podcast, ironically, which is perfect for this. The mantra is betting on yourself. So I think what you guys are doing here is in the same realm of, you know, betting on the future and betting on the new ideas. But moved to LA like 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anybody. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. It was 900 square feet, 10 guys living in it.
Was this like after college? Did you go to college?
I dropped out after my first year.
After your first year of college and said, okay, you're moving to LA. You're going to go make your dreams come true.
I only went to I was supposed to go up north to a college, but I stayed home for a girl. And I thought, you know, we'd be together for the rest of our lives. Didn't happen. So I played tennis at a small school. And then Atlanta was kind of booming with TV and film at the time. I took a couple acting classes. I was like, oh, maybe this is some type of path. And then I also loved the internet culture and where it was going. I kind of see that was the future. So I was like, maybe I could try all that out. Moved to LA and slept on the floor for a very long time. Did the scary stuff, but somehow it worked out. We made some content, and now I could take my mom to dinner. So we're good to go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The least you could do for all of her
exactly.
support and high expectations of you. Okay, what kind of student were you?
She forced me to be a very good one. Yeah. I study a lot. I think she just knew I was capable, I guess you could say. So even if I missed one answer, actually, this is kind of funny. When I was in third grade, I had my friend coming over for the weekend, and I was so excited because my mom said she would take me to a movie if I got 100% on my multiple math test.
Okay.
And oh man, I was stoked. I think it was like Spy Kids 3D or something really good that was going to come out in the cinemas. And so I took the test and the teacher was like, Zach, you did so good on this. I was like, oh, thank goodness. That means I get to go to the movies. And she's like, you only missed one. And I just broke down.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, you. And then the teacher's like, your mom will probably still take you to the movies. It'll be okay. And then I got back to mom. She goes, no. You should have got it and all. I was like, yeah, that checks out.
Yep.
So,
High expectations.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you're talking about motivation, and that is like huge for what we do. I believe that in order to be a great learner, you have to be a motivated student. If you're not motivated, it's like whatever. And I think some kids, like I remember for me, if we got all A's on a report card, we got to go to Taco John's, which was the little Midwest version of Taco Bell. And we got to go to Taco John's and I could get a free taco burger. And I mean, I worked hard all semester so that I could get that
What are the
burger.
dynamics of a taco burger?
It's literally the best. And if you're ever in the Midwest, they still have Taco John's in Minnesota. I know for a fact.
Do I have to bring my report card or can you just?
You should bring a report card.
Okay.
I'll make you one depending on how this podcast goes.
Thank you.
But it's, that was like for me a big thing. But then there's a lot of kids who, little motivation measures like that don't work, right? And as you got older, did you ever struggle with like, were you the rebel or were you like, nope, I'm going to be a good student because my mom cares about this?
Yeah. I think I had just distilled fear in me is really what she did. She'd make me go outside with a push mower.
Okay.
A dull one if I did anything wrong and attempt to mow the yard. So Georgia Heat, I was like, I'll probably just do well on the test. That sounds easier.
Okay.
So study inside.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. You can start studying inside.
Of course. Absolutely. Well, you and I have something in common though, because it sounds like you were good at playing the school game. Like you knew how to get the good grades. That's how I was. So did you like school?
Yeah. I mean, I love the culture of school. It was my favorite thing. I love playing sports. I love being with my friends. School came a little bit easier for me, which I was blessed in that sense. But for whatever reason, my friends and I were very competitive. And even in education, we would see who could do the best.
Okay. So competing in the classroom and on the tennis court and everywhere else, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So how do you think school prepared you for what your career is now?
Besides 0%?
Well, wait, hold on. Why? Was it like life skills? Was it what do you think it happened that it didn't prepare you for?
At least the school system that I was brought up on, they only cared about you being able to memorize something for long enough you can take a test. They didn't feel like they instilled any real values in you. Yeah, I felt like I learned more online after school. I remember a teacher would be teaching something and I would just watch and I would say, I'm just going to watch this on YouTube later to someone that's actually going to teach me correctly. Yeah. So I would go home and learn that way. But allowed me to cut up in class a lot. So if anything, that's where it helped me. Yeah. You sharpened your sense of humor. Yeah, I get kicked out a little bit. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. You have to. Well, you bring up a really interesting point with, the power of the internet now is that you don't have to rely on whatever teacher happens to be assigned to you. And there are great teachers out there, but there's also a lot of really bad teachers and boring teachers. And I know my daughters have found that to be the case. It's like, gosh, you can go on YouTube and you can find the most interesting prep lectures to get ready for, I know AP history classes. There's some guy on the internet who will hold these prep sessions the week before the AP test. And my girls come home and they're like, this is so awesome. This is so interesting, right? And that's one of the things that's really amazing about just making the quality of education a little bit more engaging, right? And instead of finding the best lecturer in your school, you can go find the best teacher in the world to go teach a subject. So you already figured out how to do that. Yeah. I think the education system is a little broken, obviously. So I really like what you guys are doing here. It seems that people are just making people that can just fit into the system and just, you don't really get a choice. Go in there and kind of do what we want you to do. So this was a very cool initiative that I got to hear where you guys are breaking down the boundaries and kids can actually explore their minds and interests and use cutting edge tools to really take it to the next level when it comes to education, but also, critical thinking, which I think is huge. I think that's one of the bigger parts of education. It's not always as much exactly what you're learning, but it's the ability to solve the problems of what's put in front of you. So later in life, you can put that to the test.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
and we're big fans of the idea. You have to have your brain full of knowledge in order to take that knowledge and have critical thinking skills. But life skills are important.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do is because we can compress everything into a couple hours in the morning of academics, it gives that time to go build those life skills. So in your career now, you said school had helped you not a whole lot on that, other than sharpening your sense of humor. What do you think are the life skills that are helping you be successful now?
That I learned back
Just now, what have you had to learn in the last 6 years that are responsible for helping you be successful? I mean, I can think of one. I'm sure grit. I know that it's not easy to go make yourself an internet celebrity, host a podcast, all of that. The idea of working hard, I assume that's been a huge part of your success, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if they don't get immediate satisfaction, I think my biggest thing is learning delayed gratification, where everything's immediate now. Say someone wants to start a podcast or a business, they want to be profitable. They want to have views in the first month, year. I think something that's really changed my thinking is I think of things on a longer time horizon, where if you look at a graph of even any stock, there's this up and down and up and down. And when you start a business, it's you got to learn so many things. You got to pay down your ignorance tax of how to learn what you're doing. But on the long haul, I look at, okay, if I start a podcast now and I do it every single week for 5 years, 10 years, at the end of that 5 years or 10 years, if I'm not okay at it, I should probably do something else.
Yeah.
But I mean, I give it a long enough time where, as long as I improve 1% every week, that's something pretty special that you can pile onto.
Yeah. That's another thing that has been really interesting for me to learn about as we've just gotten more kind of coverage with, future of education, the things we're doing in our schools, is that consistency. And I've had the opportunity to talk to people like yourself who are doing things online. And it's like, no, it wasn't my second video that went viral. It was my 150th video. And it's that getting up every day and saying, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to post. I'm going to keep working. And you're a comedian. I assume you're doing a lot of workshopping.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you do a lot of workshopping on that content, right? To make sure that it hits. And it's not just I immediately am successful. Do you think young people have that attitude in general today that like, yeah, it's going to take hard work and delayed gratification?
I think it's very tough for them to have that instilled unless they actively seek it out. Just because, even with food, especially in this country, everything with food, everything with entertainment, everything with even education is immediate. I did this thing, I want my reward. And I think there is this study where if you tell people that you're going to do something, like if I was going to say, oh, I want to be a podcaster one day, or I'm going to be a podcaster, I'm going to start a podcast, and you tell your friends and family, you get the reward of them being like, that's so great. And it kind of fulfills some part inside of you where you're not going to work as hard because you've already kind of got that payoff. So I like to work in the dark a little bit and like give people bits and pieces. But yeah, it's very interesting.
So Zach, you have an interest in education, not just looking back on what you went through, but you want to make a difference now in education. Tell me what you're focused on.
Okay, so right now the initiative is we brought on a PBS Kids show. All to do with puppets. So it's actually really fun and funny. And apparently children really respond to puppets better for whatever reason.
Yeah.
There's some big science behind it. I don't know all the details. I just know they like the puppets.
Yeah. Hey, who doesn't like puppets?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I've noticed with speaking to my mom and a lot of other educators that kids these days, they're having a little hard time focusing. They're having a little bit of harder time learning and things of that nature. So I kind of wanted to start on the ground level. This is a show for 2 to about 8-year-olds.
Okay.
Where it's educational entertainment. So we're starting off on PBS to kind of give that stamp of approval for when we go to digital, the parents can be like, oh, okay, this is a trusted
safe,
source.
Yeah.
Because
Now, is this like a Sesame Street type
similar,
thing?
very
Okay.
similar.
I grew up on Sesame Street. In fact, I grew up, I sometimes did not have a ton of adult supervision when I was little. And I often say Sesame Street and Electric Company kind of raised me.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I was a really good reader when I went into kindergarten. I think it was because of that. So I'm actually kind of a fan of that type of educational content.
Exactly. And a lot of people, parents or people watching, they're always like, get your kids off the iPads, but that's just not going to happen on a grand scale. So if I'm able to, and all the kids are watching YouTube now, TV's not really as big of a thing. You hand them an iPad, they go on YouTube. Then 2-year-olds know how to work the entire thing. So if I could be a resource to even 1%, 2% of kids, and they can go on and find educational entertainment that actually services their brain and start at that level, hopefully they can flourish and get interested in learning. And it's not just the dopamine hit that certain channels and certain companies are making so the kids just stay on and there's no substance.
Yeah, well, I think not all screen time is equal, right? And there's a difference between just doom scrolling TikTok and doing some of the things that it sounds like you're doing. Well, I love the fact that you are focused on this initiative. For me, I didn't get interested in education until, I had kids, and I often sit there and think like, oh, I wish I'd started this, 15 years earlier when I didn't even have children yet. So I love that you're doing this. Are you spending a lot of time working on this initiative?
Yeah. So we just filmed the first 10 episodes.
Amazing.
So that's getting edited right now. And now we are going into the process of how to kind of scale the content to be able to get into the eyes of as many people as we can, but then also doing quality checks of making sure we're doing the right thing and not just doing it to get this absorbent profit. So yeah, we're trying to do it the right way.
Yeah. So starting on PBS is a great idea. And then this will be a digital show that people can access online.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's exciting. And is your mom working with you on this?
She isn't. She has, I think, 7 more years of school till she can retire.
Okay.
But I'm trying to get her out so she can come help at some point. But when she does, and she's a phenomenal writer, I really want her to write a children's book. But yeah, I'm going to get her involved somehow.
Speaking of writing, I assume you do quite a bit of writing too, right?
I do.
What do you do? What do you work on?
A film that I just wrote. We're in casting right now for that, so that's been great. It's a comedy. I write scripts all the time. I write copy for whether it's marketing or just jokes and things like that. Though a lot of them are stupid. It's you're actually sitting there and having creative business plans, emails. AI helps out with the emails now. So, but yeah, just in and out typing. Yeah.
Well, and did your academic writing in school prepare you for all the stuff you're doing now or not?
My mom was a writing teacher most of my life, and she put me in writing camp when I was little.
Amazing.
So I was lucky enough to win Georgia Young Authors twice and a couple other things. So she always instilled in me that the best way to communicate is thoughtfully and in a way that narratively can move people. So I was very blessed that she was able to do that for me.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. So as you know, we do use AI technology to basically, completely change the role of the teacher in the classroom. We don't have academic teachers. We're doing it all with AI. You said you use AI to write. We're trying to teach our young people, let's not use AI to cheat, right? Or write your papers. Let's use it to really raise your level of creativity and intelligence. And so that's one of the big focuses that we're doing. Do you feel like a lot of people, your age, young people, are they getting trained well on AI?
I doubt they're getting trained well. I'd say they just kind of jump in and, again, probably use it to cheat or use it to, create an image of their best friend on a falcon. But how I use it currently is, so obviously I love business. I run a business called Dropouts Media, and I get some of the best minds in their books and their articles and their videos that I transcribe, and I put it all into a memory bank where I can go back, and if I have a problem in my business, I'd be like, okay, how would this certain person solve that based on their literature? And
You built a second brain is probably what it is. That's a
it's
second
smarter
brain.
than my first one, thankfully. Yeah.
They really all are. I agree. My second
yeah.
brain definitely knows a lot more than my.
I'll ask
my
it a question and it'll be like, why are you even doing anything? Like, I'm going to kill this. Why are you even existing? So that's been a little scary on that point, but it's been fun.
You know, it's a great point though. And for those listening, it's something that you should learn about. There was a book that was written about it. Basically, the guy who wrote the book was like, I constantly am forgetting things. And I'm like, I used to know something that might be helpful for me. And so I'm going to build a second brain. And we teach our kids to build second brains. And then AI can go and create that. So like one of our students has built a dating app. And she's also doing like a chat bot around giving advice. It's called Ask Elle, but she built a second brain using, information from psychologists and thoughtful things. And then this AI chatbot just pulls from that second brain. It's a great life hack, right? And it's totally helping you. So if anybody has not heard of this concept, it's really a fantastic way. And, I think there's so many adults who are not using AI really on a regular basis. I talk to people all the time and they're like, no, I haven't really done anything, or I've done a little with ChatGPT, but there's so much cool stuff that can be done with that.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm a very big nerd on AI. I wait for certain YouTube videos of the new stuff to come out every week, and I really geek out on it. So it's very cool. Something we actually want to do with Mr. Clown, which is the show we're going to be doing, is eventually have an app where kids can come on and they can speak to an AI voice and character of Mr. Clown, and it's all education. They can ask him questions. It's, if 3 + 3, and he has the voice and he can speak to them. I think that's, if I was a kid and I got on some slab of glass and SpongeBob could talk to me, I'd freak out. So this is, hopefully if we do it right, it'll be pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What about if you were creating an AI tutor for you right now, who would be your avatar? Who would you want teaching you?
Just me in 10 years, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always looking for that better future self. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. If not, maybe you. I'd go with you. Why not?
Oh my gosh. You need another mom in your life holding you to high standards? Is that what you're telling me?
No. But I need an AI mom. I'll just be at night and be like, hey, this girl just really rejected me. Can you just tell me you love me? That's all it's going to be.
You know what? Did you, you're probably too young to have seen that movie that Scarlett Johansson and...
Her?
Yes, her.
Yeah.
And I remember when that movie came out and it was like, this is so dystopian. And guess what? Like, that is happening. In fact, I think I read an article that some woman married her AI avatar.
I mean, you got to. Probably smoke show AI
when they
too.
Tell you you're perfect all the time and you're whatever. Yeah, it definitely helps.
I download that data. Yeah, I actually, speaking of her, I put in my, with the new ChatGPT 4.0, I put in my headphones while I'm working and I just keep her in the background. So if I just have a quick question of, hey, blah, 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 and then she'll tell me in my ears and I can just keep running it.
That wraps up part 1 of this episode, but don't worry, there's a part 2 coming soon. Thanks for listening to Mackenzie Price and the Future of Education podcast. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is the time to do it so you can stay up to date on all our episodes. You can connect with Mackenzie on social media and be part of our daily conversation over on Instagram at futureof_education. For more info about the show and our guests, you can always visit futureofeducationpod.com. Lastly, if you're loving what you're learning, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts.